if I played it too early, but here we go. All right, welcome to TacOps. I'm gonna do this with a special guest today. I got IntelDoge on the show today, so welcome, my friend.
Awesome, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, no worries. I'm excited about this one. So Greg's taking a vacation day for Memorial Day. I guess he's gonna go, do his thing. Everything's opening back up around here, so he's gonna go do his thing, and we're gonna hang out and do our thing tonight and talk about. I put out some good stuff. Before I get to that, I want to talk about the Commando Store. They've been our sponsor for, I think we've been doing this show for like a year now, it seems. I don't know, something like that. There's been a lot. We're on like 50 episodes or something like that now. It's pretty crazy. I can't believe it. But, and sorry if my kids are screaming in the background. Everybody's kind of locked in still, so it is what it is. But, so Commando Store, like I said, a great sponsor that we've had. They've been around for a long time. They sell some of the coolest stuff. We always we want to try to keep our sponsors like military themed and themed to the show, and Commando Store is so fun. They always sell the greatest stuff. And last weekend we talked about the stuff they sell, like this vegetables with rice. It's basically long range patrol rations, or I wouldn't really call them MREs because it's just dried food. But I mean, they look great. I mean, you can look at some of this stuff on here. They got like dried rice, the turkey tetrazzini and breakfast skillets, Western omelets, beef stew, you name it, chili mac. So it actually doesn't really look like it anymore. It looks really good, to be honest. And they have sizes to compare it to your magazine or your flashbang or your grenade or whatever you have in your pocket. So it actually looks like it fits really nice, light and compact. But anyways, make sure you guys go over there, and they still have the deal going on. I'll move the banner out of the way so you guys can see it. If you're EMS, fire, police, hospital, hit them up and they'll get you supplies at costs. So, and as far as I know, they still got a pretty good stock, so make sure you hit them up first if you can. And I think that's it for the sponsors, so I'm going to roll into the first thing with the great IntelDoge, and I'm going to bring up his tweet actually, which is we got 4 Iranian tankers heading into Venezuela to resupply Venezuela with some fuel, and we've had a blockade up a little bit for a while, and it looks like the first one made it. The picture that I have pulled up is actually the second one, so you can see it's getting pretty close. It's right outside Barbados now. I think the first one you said was getting ready to dock here in the next couple of hours.
Yeah, it's not too far away. So next couple hours, it should be where it needs to be.
Sweet. And so it's it's definitely getting pretty close. And so there's 4 of them heading in. They're really spread far apart. And everybody assumed that if the Navy was going to mess with one of them, they were probably going to mess with the first one, obviously. And they didn't. They didn't do anything. It doesn't look like anything happened. They didn't slow down at all. There's a few escort ships that are kind of with them to escort them in. But there's no activity from the Navy at all. It doesn't seem like. We haven't seen any pictures from their social media or nothing. We heard a few warnings, I guess, a couple of days ago. But I mean, have you heard anything?
No, not really. Just the threats that have been thrown out for the past couple days. The ship itself, and I don't really know what happened there. But other than that, it's sped back up now, and it's moving. It's doing fine.
Yeah, they don't travel very fast. They're like 14 knots or something like that. They're pretty slow. I mean, they're huge. I'll pull up a picture of the second one. So the first one was called the, oh man, I just lost track of what it was called. They're all named the same. Yeah, the Fortune. Yeah, so the Fortune, and then the second one is the Forest. So I'll actually pull up a picture of what the Forest looks like on marine traffic. But it's a large ship. You know what I mean? This thing is no joke. I mean, it's a full oil tanker. And we were talking before the podcast that we think they're all pretty much the same size. That doesn't look like there's anything really special about the second one, or the first one, or the third. But yeah, it's they're all really large oil tankers. Like I said, to bring in fuel, because Venezuela's having some rough times with fuel. I've been watching videos. I'll try to find one as we go through the podcast. But there's videos of them like fighting each other at the gas stations and stuff. I mean, I guess the state's bringing in fuel, and they were attacking the police officers or whoever it was, the state police or whoever it was that was bringing in and trying to protect the people bringing in the fuel. They started attacking them too, so they're hurting for gas pretty badly. We were talking before about the podcast too. How much fuel do you think this is gonna be? Like, is it even a lot? Because 4 tankers are big, but they're not like that's not a lot of fuel for a whole country.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on the numbers, but I would imagine that it would probably be around, I'd say maybe 2 to 3 weeks worth, so probably not a lot. But I'd imagine they're stocked pretty full, as full as possible.
Yeah, it seems I mean, they don't have it is a big country, don't get me wrong, but it's not like a giant country. So, I think we were seeing estimates probably between, like you said, a week or 2, or maybe even 3 at most if they try to ration it out to people, and, they don't keep it all for themselves and just give it all to the military, or I don't know what they're going to do with it. But it doesn't seem like a lot. And so it's almost like, is it really worth it? Right? Is it really worth trying to stop a bunch of fuel tankers? I mean, these people really need it. You know what I mean? They're really only hurting the civilians. We're not going to really hurt the military. I mean, I guess the military could use the gasoline too, don't get me wrong, but it's going to really hurt the people. So is it really worth it? What are your thoughts?
I was thinking, like, there's really not too much you can do in the first place. I mean, if you go in and seize the ships, not only does it look bad on the international stage, because you're going to be seizing a ship in another country's water, and you're going to be taking fuel from people that desperately need it. And not only that, you have the potential for a military confrontation as well. So you really have to think, is it really worth going through all that just to kind of get back at Iran?
Yeah, it's it's tit for tat, right? And that shit doesn't really work, to be honest. It doesn't seem like it does. You just get a bunch of people hurt, and it just punching each other in the face doesn't really get anybody anywhere. So it's like, what do you think a better route would be besides actually trying to stop these ships?
Personally, if the U.S. is going to do anything, I think they're going to go the route of sanctions. Like I was saying before the podcast, the administration that we have now, they love to sanction things. So I think they're going to go the route of sanctions. Probably give a warning to not continue the shipments, and if the shipments continue, then I could foresee them doing something in the future. But right now, I think they're going to leave the ships alone.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's anything. Man, no. So what you were talking about, how you think this second ship is a little bit special. You want to go ahead and talk about why you think the Forest is a little bit different than the first ship that went in?
Yeah, so I was talking to Conflicts W earlier. Shout out Conflicts W. He's a great user. He has a lot of good sources and very trustworthy. I was talking to him earlier, and he said that the media, the Venezuelan media, isn't really paying too much attention to Fortune, which I thought was a little weird because, Fortune would be the first ship come to the area that was all press covered, but it seems that they're going to be dedicating most of the press coverage to Forest, which I thought was a little strange.
Yeah, it does seem strange. I'm not exactly sure why you want to put it on the first vessel, right? If that's the one that's going to be kind of breaking the lines, and we all kind of assumed if something was going to happen, it would happen to the first one. So, like, why do you think it's the second one? Is there anything that you've seen out there that's saying, hey, the second one's special, we need to pay attention to it? Or, have you heard anything about why you think it's special? Or
No, there's been some people theorizing. Obviously, when you have something like this, people they get to theorizing, and people start to think kind of some crazy things. But there's not really anything that stands out to me as super concerning with the second one. Really, it's just the fact that Venezuela is focusing more on the second one than they are the first one. That kind of struck me as interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if they have some kind of like special media thing planned for it, if they've got all these reporters and stuff on there to show off what this thing's doing. It's a big ship. You can get a lot of people on there. I wouldn't necessarily want to be on there. These tankers they get hit all the time, man. I feel so bad about the captains and the people that have to deal with these tankers, because they just get hit by missiles all the time. They're just like giant.
Oh yeah,
they're like
business.
Yeah, it's like cow tipping, and there's nothing they can do. You know what I mean? You just boom, you just hit them, and generally you're not going to take one out. A lot of the time they're so big that you could just kind of poke the side of it with the harpoon or something, and you're not going to take it out. You just kind of scare the shit out of everybody. And now they probably lost a lot of their fuel or whatever they're carrying, but yeah, I mean it's rough because there's nothing they can do. I mean, that's what's scary about when I was on submarines, is that the submarines are really vulnerable when they're going in and out of the ports. We call it the maneuvering watch, where you see the submarine on the surface as it goes out, right? Generally, because the water's not deep enough, you can't just like sink and go out underwater. You got to stay on the surface for a little while until you get to the dive point, which is generally where you get to a shelf or something that's real deep, and then you can go dive out there. And it's really dangerous. It's because you can't maneuver. There's no way you can't take a giant ship that's only going nothing. I mean, those submarines, they don't get very fast on the surface. They're not designed to run on the surface, so it's just enough to turn maybe. But I mean, there's nothing you can do. You can't get out of the way. When I was in so after we went on the ISEX, I pulled into the UK. I pulled into Plymouth, on the south side of the UK. I hope that I'm right about that. It's been a long time since I've looked at a map up there, but so we pulled in there, and as we're pulling in, there was this little boat. It wasn't big. It looked like some kind of like little fishing boat or something, and he was like directly in front of us, heading straight for us at full speed. And we're in a small little bay, and there's if you've ever pulled into the UK, they're really cool about how they'll like have all these boats around you, and all these these people will escort you in, and they're all like waving at you and shit. It's really welcoming, especially if they know that you're from another country and stuff like that, and if you're on a military ship, because they love their the military a lot, especially their Navy. And so they'll kind of escort you in, and this guy's just heading right for us. And so the rules of the road, basically, you honk, you honk, or we have a ship's whistle. It's a big giant horn, basically, and you pull the horn 5 times, and you say, hey, like, you're about to hit me. You need to get out of the way, because there's not much we can do, right? We can't just turn if we're going 5 knots, So we don't want to shoot you, because we don't have much option, And so the ship, the bay security came in, and we were actually watching it on the periscope, because the periscopes are optical now, so you can like watch it in different compartments and stuff. You don't actually have to be looking in the hole on the scope, right? They're just on cameras everywhere. So we were actually watching it in the crew's mess, and we could see it, and everybody's freaking out because we heard the 5 horns, so everybody comes running up like we're about to get hit or something. And so we're watching this guy heading straight for us, and out of nowhere, and you can only see so much with the periscope. We had it zoomed in real close so you could see if there was like explosives, or this guy's coming out with guns or whatever. So we're zoomed in real close to see what's going on, and you can't see nothing. All of a sudden, this rib boat just goes kaboom, and it just runs, and it just collides with that little ship hard.
Oh, geez.
It rolled over all the way to the left. It had one of those metal post tops that go on it to keep the guy from getting sunburned or whatever, and that thing hit the water. It bounced back, came back, it threw the guy up out of the water. And you could see them, and they had to drag the boat out of the way, because we were still going, so they basically just pushed the boat out of the way so we could get through. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen, and it's because of that. They can't maneuver. There's nothing they could do. We don't want to shoot you, so we might as well just knock you out of your boat. That dude probably saved his life,
Yeah,
but
that's crazy. Yeah, they're definitely sitting ducks, because like you said, they can't go very fast, and they can't exactly turn very quick. They're not very agile, so it's something like that's very dangerous.
Yeah, it's one of the weird aspects about naval warfare, naval supremacy, just working in the Navy in general. You don't have anything like that on the land. I mean, we've seen that.
Yeah.
What the Panzertiers? I don't know how to say it. I'm not very good with like Army land-based stuff, but they've just been getting beaten up lately, right? Because it's just
Oh yeah, in Libya.
yeah, they're just. I mean, they're just losing them left and right because they're just not very good. They just can't get out of the way.
Not great.
They become targets, right? They're probably
Yeah.
dangerous to them, and they want to get rid of them too. But you know, anyways, yeah. So it's going to be interesting to kind of watch this. And one of the other things you were talking about is they're really spaced far apart. What do you think about that?
I think that's just kind of a strategy that they had, because obviously, I totally 100% believe that Iran thought the U.S. was going to do something to the ships. So I think that the purpose of them being spaced apart was to try and prevent the U.S. from kind of getting all of them at once. So I think they spaced them apart so that if the U.S. would seize the first one, then it would be difficult in a way to get the second one, and then the third one, the fourth one, and so on. So I think that's kind of why they spaced them out like that.
Yeah, it seems like they're trying to maybe hide from Seawolf tactics. Shout out to submarines! I'm just kidding, but yeah, if you keep them all together, you can get one group around them and really mess with them. But if you spread them really far apart, then you got to spread your forces apart, and they can't group up. And yeah, I think I totally agree with you. I think that that's probably what they're doing. Now, one of the things about that is, though, remember, submarines don't really follow that mindset of being in a group. They can go solo out there and go do whatever they want. So there may be one following each one of these, just waiting for some stupid shit to happen. Because a harpoon on top of the water or a missile on top of the water, not that big of a deal. But if you hit the bottom of that thing with the Mark 48 or a heavyweight torpedo, it ain't gonna be good for that tanker, because if the fuel is really buoyant, so it makes them float really well. If you lose a little bit of that fuel, I mean, you're gonna sink, because the fuel helps keep those ships up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Well, somebody was telling me the other day, I guess the president said something along the lines of that. I can't remember exactly what he said. He said essentially that the U.S. has Venezuela surrounded, and a lot of people were theorizing, not 100% sure why, but a lot of people were theorizing that it could have something to do with submarines, like maybe the U.S. has some kind of plans with submarines, and it could involve these ships. Nobody really knows for sure, but yeah, that's definitely a possibility as well, that the U.S. could have submarines kind of shadowing these ships.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, we got drones. We got drones for drones for drones. We got lightweight drones. We got very lightweight drones. We got medium-sized drones. We got large drones. We got extra large drones. I mean, we've got so many drones at this point. We could just litter targets with them. You know what I mean? You could just sit there and follow them. And especially those big tankers. Like we saw with the attacks where they were putting those magnetic mines on the side of them. I mean, like if you had something underwater that just attached something like that, you'd never know it. You would never hear it on something like that. It's so big. Mm-hmm. And you could just attach it to the bottom, follow it in, and those UUVs can do whatever you want. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I mean, they can track. They
things are great.
They can blow up. They can, whatever you want to do. I mean, I don't think they're capable to do some kind of like electronic attack on a tanker or anything. But I mean, it could definitely blow up if it wanted to. If it reaches a certain point, whatever. It's got GPS. I mean, those things are great. Or they could just detach and go back to wherever they were. I mean, these things are getting crazy what they can do. I mean, just utterly crazy.
Oh yeah, the United States has a very impressive drone capability.
I'm gonna see if I can pull up the new very lightweight torpedo they released. I'll pull it up here in a second, but the Navy's got a new one now. That it's really small, so I'm not sure how you're supposed to shoot it. It almost looks like it fits into the TDU, like the trash disposal unit. It's just so small. Like if it's not small enough to be a countermeasure, so it's not 3 inches, but it probably looks like it's like 10 inches wide or something. It doesn't really look like it would fit in a torpedo tube. So it's really, really odd to see this new very lightweight one, because it doesn't match at all to anything that I've seen. And maybe they're going to put them on the Ohio class, because the Ohio class has those deployment systems where they can launch those UUVs or whatever out of the missile tubes. But
Yeah, I haven't heard about that actually. That's interesting.
yeah, let me go ahead. I'll pull it up. Sorry, give me a second, and I'll go and pull up very light. Wait, torpedo. I was actually looking for the patent and I couldn't find it. Here's a picture of it right here. Yeah, so actually, Naval News, The Drive. I love, we listen to these guys. They're great. You got to check out their websites for sure. We've had Tyler on before. I would love to have Xavier on sooner than later because he's one of the guys that runs Naval News. But here is, I'll go ahead and pull up Naval News so you guys can see what they have going on. But here is it's small. It doesn't look like it fits into any type of torpedo tube. It can't be more than, it goes halfway up the guy's shin, and it's on stands. So it can't be more than 6 inches, 7 inches, maybe.
Oh yeah, I see it now.
Yeah, I know you're on a delay, so it takes a minute for it to kind of pop up. But yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks like a torpedo.
Oh.
Yeah, it is super duper small.
Wow, very interesting, very cool. I was not aware that was a thing. That is very neat.
Yeah, so they've got the look, here you go. Here's the medium size. So we'll go from the very lightweight to the medium. There's a picture of that one, and they're all kind of similar. I think this one looks more like a civilian built version of it, but you can see it's got the little. It's almost like a periscope. It's like a little fin that sticks up. I think that's why they call it the bluefin, even though they're orange. But
yeah, okay,
they pop up and they can transmit satellites or whatever they're trying to transmit to. Yeah, there's multiple sizes on this picture. But yeah, that's the new one, and this one's supposed to be this very lightweight one. Let me go back. My internet's going a little slow because I got a lot of stuff open. There we go. But this one's supposed to be more like a torpedo, less than a drone. Right, and the Mark 48 kind of, it almost, at this point, it almost is. You can go do whatever you want with it. The thing is it's an underwater robot. You can stop it, spin it around, program it to go search in certain places and do different things, go up and down. You can control it like a robot, like any drone at this point. But they're also designed to go a lot faster, and they explode. So.
Yeah.
This one actually looks like it.
Here on my end.
This one actually looked like it's probably about to, or this is this is just a prototype. But when they put the solid on the outside like that, this being a prototype, that's probably what it's for. But if it ends up staying like this and it keeps looking like this, it's more than likely going to be an explosive or some kind of countermeasure.
Yeah. That's something else. That's very cool. It's so small. I can't get over how small that is. Crazy.
Yeah, and there's some old pictures of the Mark 18, but yeah, they've been trying to upgrade. Where do you really go from the Mark 48? There's just I don't know if you really go anywhere from there. You just keep doing software upgrades, make them more reliable.
Technology packed into those.
Yeah, I think that the prize they look for is, right now we're trying to get swim out torpedoes to work safely. I think that it's always been kind of scary for the Navy to have swim out torpedoes, because if they don't swim out, it gets a little scary.
Yeah.
All right, so there's that anyway. So enough talking about Venezuela. We've been beating that up for a while. Here I wanted to show you guys. This is the video they've been showing off. I'll try to turn this volume down. Sorry, so it's not so loud. But this is what their media is putting out in regards to the little exercise they put together to kind of scare us and let us know that they're practicing and ready to go if anything happens out there. I tried to turn on the translator, but it doesn't work very well.
Oh, you're showing the ocean.
Yeah, so just their little... and this is their naval ships. That's impressive, right? Like, we were talking about this before the podcast. I didn't know they had naval ships like that. They're like new age naval ships. They were like built in 2010, 2011. I'll go ahead and I'll pull those up after this video's over so you guys can see it.
Yeah, their navy's nothing to scoff at all.
Yeah. And these are the ships that are going to be escorting the tankers back. So PO11 and PO13. I can't remember the other one. I'll have to pull it up in just a second so you guys can see it. Yeah, some old shots there. Machine guns on helicopters shooting at stuff.
I'll tell you something funny about this thing when the video's over though.
And you don't see any submarines, so they haven't shown any video of them doing anything with those. And I think if they had them running at this point, they probably would have put some video of them. That's just my guess, because they're a lot scarier than everything they got. So I don't know. But anyways, what were you gonna say?
So Conflicts W again. He originally shared this video on Twitter. That's how I saw it, and he, I guess, found out through Venezuelan sources that the damage to the ship that they were firing at was so minimal that they weren't even able to sink the ship itself. So they dealt such minimal damage that they weren't even able to accomplish their goal of sinking it. And then, to top that, despite it being a stationary target, I guess somehow the ship started to drift away, and then they had difficulty trying to get the ship back, and they had difficulty firing at it when it was moving away. So the whole exercise was just this mess.
Oh, jeez. You know, but they don't like shoot at a lot of stuff. I mean, I could tell you when we would do sync X's, you know, we never did one. We were supposed to go out and do one, but we did some other stuff instead. But the stories that I would hear is like they kept shooting at it and they couldn't get it down. You know, like generally missiles won't sink anything. They're not really designed to sink the ship. You'd have to hit them with a lot of them. So what'll end up happening is they're like, okay, well, this thing didn't sink, so let's go ahead and shoot a torpedo at it. And they don't want to shoot torpedoes at them because they're freaking expensive, man. I mean, I don't know if you saw, but we sold 10 of them, or sorry, 10, 18, no, 18 of them to Taiwan for 10 mil a piece. You know, they're obviously not 10 mil. They're like 3.5 or 4 mil for us to buy them, but. Yeah, man. I mean, they're freaking expensive. You can't just be shooting shit off like that, you know.
Yeah, it's a lot of money for an exercise.
Especially for them, you know. They don't have a whole lot of weapons to just be firing off to take out a floating ship. Just let it float away. Who gives a fuck? You know, who cares? Ram something into it. Put a mine on the side of it. Make it cheap.
It'll go somewhere eventually.
Yeah, I mean, they're not that hard to blow up. That's kind of funny. They couldn't take that thing out. Ugh.
Yeah, I guess they ended up deleting the video from social media after it started to make waves. They ended up deleting it. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, because I actually got it off his Twitter feed, I guess. Oh, that's funny. You know, sometimes when you go out there, you try to look like a badass. You look like a stupid ass. You know.
Yep.
You know, it's like those kids that try to do like karate kicks and they fall on their ass, you know, or whatever. Like you just can't win every time, man.
Oh, that reminds me of a video that I saw one time. Oh, it was awful. It was I guess it was from Iran, and it was a couple years ago, probably around 2010, 2011. And I can't remember the exact context with it, but it was supposed to be a military demonstration for, I believe, a commander, a high up commander, and they were doing all this stuff. Like the guy was trying to chop a brick, like how they'll like hit the brick and it'll chop in half. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So these guys were trying to break all this wood, and they were trying to break these bricks, and the guy just kept hitting the wood and it wouldn't break, and he just kept smacking this real thick piece of wood, and you could see in the commander's eyes, because they were doing all this in front of this commander, like it was supposed to be demonstrating the military's capability, and you could see the whole video was just, oh, it was awful. It was so hard to watch. And then the guy tried to kick it, and then he started to fall down on the ground. It was just, it was terrible.
Oh, yeah. I took Taekwondo as a kid, and those boards they give you and stuff, they're like designed to break. We had a girl that was in our class. Man, she didn't weigh 30 pounds. I mean, she was like 7. You know, she was like, we were all real young. We were doing this as kids. And we were just like, there's no way she's going to break this board. There's no way. And she punched it and it broke in half. We were like, what in the world? And you could see it was just like completely rotted on the inside. You know, it was designed to break really easy for kids, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think those guys just get set up sometimes. They're like, fuck this guy. Let's just put a real board on there and watch him look like a stupid ass in front of everybody. Because he's probably treating everybody like shit. Those guys are weird, man. Those guys that do that are like, they're almost like, they almost try to be like cult leaders. You know what I mean? They're just like, they think they're big and they're awesome, but they're really stupid. Like, they're just like, they actually couldn't make a cult. They just like, are just taking advantage of kids and making money on the side. It's fucking weird. I don't know. I'm not trying to like shit on Taekwondo teachers or anything. By the way, I love my Taekwondo teacher.
You're not wrong.
But yeah, I don't know, some of them are fucking weird. But anyways, so yeah, and that was the other thing, right? These naval ships they have are nice. They're nice. Look at this thing. I didn't know that they had ships that were designed to reduce radar cross section. I thought they were old. You just assume Venezuela. You just assume all these countries are just old shit. But it seems like Venezuela's done it a little bit differently. Instead of having a bunch of old crap, they've just sunk their money into a few of them that are nice. I mean, because they only got 4 of them. 4
they went
patrol boats.
Quantity.
Yeah, I mean, they look good. It's so surprising.
Yeah, not bad at all.
So yeah, this is one of the ships that are going to be escorting the patrol boat, and then the one that's going to be escorting the forest is going to be the Yakuana. I think that's how you say it. I'm not sure. So that'll be heading out. Same class. I mean, but they're quick. You know, 24 knots, not too bad for a patrol vessel, and they can shoot. They basically have guns. I don't see any. I'm sure they could shoot missiles if they were outfitted for it, but it doesn't seem like there's anything on. I'm looking at Wikipedia too, so who knows? But
I wanted to pull up. I believe there is. Oh, now watch me not be able to remember what it is. There's a ship that is believed to be in the area that is going to be taking part in the escorting. Let me see if I can find it. That is outfitted with some kind of missiles. I can't remember exactly what it was. This was Conflicts W again who told me about this. Back here somewhere. Should be right around here. One of these ships that is escorting should have... Oh, I should not be able to find it.
Yeah, if you find the link, just shoot it to me on Discord, and I'll throw it up on the podcast so you guys can see it. And by the way, one of the things while you're looking for that, one of the things that everybody's been saying on YouTube is that they want us to put the links in the show after the show. So I'm going to do that. I've got everything already copied, ready to go. So whenever the podcast is done, I'm going to go through and clean all that up and make it look nice for you guys. It's something we haven't been doing. I'm not very good at YouTube. I'm still learning it. So Greg's going to help school me on that. We're going to make it look really nice. So just so you guys know, we're going to have all these links for you.
All right, so here, I got to pull it up. So this here, let me find you in Discord. There. This missile here, it should be on one of the ships that is in the area, yeah.
The automat, right.
Yeah. I do believe they have, it is the, oh geez, I'm not even going to pronounce it. It's one of their frigates and one of their fast attack crafts that should have them on the Mark II variant.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. The automat's famous.
1977, but definitely capable.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen what the Exocet did. I mean, it changed history in the 80s. You know, this is a similar, not a whole lot different. I mean, that's all you need. That's what's crazy about missiles. This isn't, I love water warships to death, but this is not what that is. It's not us shooting guns, artillery guns at each other anymore. This isn't, we're not playing Worms is basically what it was. You're just trying to hit them from far away with an arc. Nowadays, it's like, it's just missiles, and you just shoot that thing, and you hope it locks on and gets them, and hopefully it doesn't lock onto somebody else or something else and hit them, like we saw with Venezuela, right? They were doing that shoot and shot their own ship. Was it Venezuela? Am I saying that wrong?
I think that was Iran.
Yeah, Iran. Sorry, I get them mixed up now because we were talking about that story. But yeah, they shot their own support vessel, right? I mean, these things are nice, but they will kill yourself.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that whole thing was awful. That was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, and shout out to those guys who were just doing their job, man. I mean, and especially being on a support vessel, like they didn't have anything to do with anything of that whatsoever. They were just they were the wrong one to get locked onto.
Yep.
So anyway, so yeah, there's the automat. So yeah, so it looks like they've got some vessels in the area with missiles. I didn't pull up their frigates or anything like that. I was just looking at the coastal vessels because they're impressive. I like I said, I would never guessed that they would have looked like that. So, but anyways, so yeah, that's the Venezuelan tanker thing. You got anything else you want to talk about with that? We can go and switch subjects.
I don't think so. Just gonna keep monitoring it and see what happens when the rest of the ships get in the area.
Yeah, definitely. There's some good Twitter feeds out there. So make sure you follow IntelDoge on Twitter. He's also got his Discord that I'll put up a link for everybody afterwards, and you guys can hang out with him on Discord. And so we got so the other one we wanted to talk about that's pretty big is and we can go over it quickly because Stefan Watkins is going to be coming on the show soon to talk about it, but we stepped back out of open skies, so no more open skies for us, right?
Oh yeah, that's something that I'm sure he would love to get on here and talk about.
Yeah, actually, I have it pulled up right here. I mean, just right here. What is wrong with you people? Right there. # Open Skies Treaty. That was it right there 3 hours ago. I love this dude, and I've been talking to him on DMs and stuff. We're gonna have him on, but it sucks, man. It sucks that we're pulling out of treaties with nuclear weapons because I don't want to get nuked, and I don't want accidents to happen. Is what it really comes down to, because we start fucking around and hopefully we don't start testing them again, and it's gonna get fucking dirty, and it's gonna start spurring other people. Like Japan doesn't give a fuck anymore. Like they're done with that peaceful sideline shit. I mean they're gonna start developing missiles and shit now. They're done. So you don't want them to step in. Like you just don't want all these people to step in and start having nukes because we've seen in the history of how just us in general how many nukes that we've dropped or lost, that we've blown up, that it's just awful. It's awful. Like how many we have.
And when you start pulling out of treaties like this, and when you start, with the post that was from the other day that we're debating on whether or not we should conduct another nuclear test, when you start doing things like that, that's when you get into really, really dangerous territory.
Yeah, because if we're going to do it, why not everybody else, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. Like, you don't want to lead that game, It's just not worth it.
Exactly. I mean, if you test a nuclear weapon, then you got China who's going to want to do it. You got Russia. You definitely got North Korea. North Korea would love to test a nuclear bomb like that. So you're opening up possibilities for so many other countries, and it's not good. Not good at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's just we don't need to step backwards. We know ours work, right? We got enough of them that we know they're going to work, and even if a few fail, who cares? Because it's going to be all over anyways. So it's like, why? Like, and why? Especially because why do you want to just blow up that much money? That's a lot of money. We can't just be dropping $100 million, or I don't know what they cost, to be honest. But
nukes ain't cheap.
Fuck, man, they are not cheap, and you don't want to just be blowing them up again. I mean, we spent a lot of money blowing up nukes. I mean, we blew up over 1,000. It was like 1,200 or something like that we've blown up. It's ridiculous, right? It's a lot of money. We don't need to do that anymore. Like, we've already done it, and we've got that power, right? We've got the big gun. Let's just try not to step backwards, please. I'm just saying. And I know.
We got, if any.
Oh, I think I lost you there for a second. What did you say? Go ahead and say that again.
Oh, I was saying about how we should be getting rid of nukes, if anything. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. We got a lot, and they're expensive to take care of, man. You can't just make one and store it in a warehouse. These aren't old bombs. You know what I mean? You have to constantly do maintenance on these things. You got to change out tritium. You got to change out all this crap on them, and you got to do constant checks on them because they are nukes. You can't just like let them sit there and do nothing. You know, it just they can be fucking. They're just a huge. It's like having nuclear power. It's like there's the infrastructure and everything you have to take care of them is fucking expensive. So we don't want to like spur any reason to just make a bunch more, because it's just a bunch of money that just sits there and does absolutely nothing. Like, it's a cool investment to have the fact that you can just destroy anybody at any moment, but that's a huge investment that does nothing, realistically.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's cool that you get to like supply money to the military, and you know there is money that gets flown around, and it does help the economy, and et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, realistically, that money does nothing for the people, right? Besides just it gives them a little security, right? You could have that with 200 nukes. You don't really need to have fucking thousands of them. It's just not really worth it.
It really isn't, and not only the financial aspect, but in general, just even storing them is dangerous. I mean, it's not foolproof, you know?
Yeah, I mean, how many times...
You're not guaranteed 100% safety.
Yeah, I mean, just recently, but I was recently, reading up on that Titan missile where that kid dropped the wrench, the socket, and it fell and it penetrated the side of that rocket, because those rockets are real thin, you know what I mean? I mean, the casings on them are like paper thin metal, or aluminum, and... he just dropped a socket and just poked a hole in the side of that thing and it ended up blowing up, and it launched the nuke out of the silo. Luckily, it had awesome safety mechanisms like they do. We haven't accidentally blown one up yet, but it launched that thing into the sky and it fell in this dude's farm or whatever. Or I guess it landed in it almost looks like a farm, but it's actually on the property. But it was like a Mark 51, I think, weapon. But yeah, just sitting in a field. It's ridiculous. Like you're looking for accidents, and especially with a country that doesn't take care of their own shit, they're the ones that are probably going to have the accidents, and we don't necessarily want to kill people.
Yep.
I mean, how many fires have we seen in Russia on their ships? And I mean, poor Kuznetsov is fucking just we used to call him Old Smokey because he had the black smoke that came out of the stacks, and now it's just because he's on fire all the time. So like 3 fires, I guess, already. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Russia does not have a great history with submarines and their navy and accidents. They do not have a great history at all with that.
Yeah, and everybody's been kind of talking about nukes in general. Like, one of the reasons that we may be doing this is because, like we did with the Soviet Union, we pushed them on submarines, right? So we pushed them to try to keep up with us, and they couldn't, and they collapsed, right? And and a lot of people will obviously it wasn't all submarines, but the submarine force is what really broke that camel's back, because they are so expensive, and they had so many of them. Holy cow, they had a shit ton of them. They had like 200 of them or something like that at one point. I mean, Pepsi ended up with like so many of them after they fell. Like, they ended up becoming like the biggest private submarine force on the planet. They had like 20 of them. Like, I don't know why Pepsi had so many of these submarines, but they were just selling them off to people. Like, they didn't give a fuck. Lada ended up with a bunch of them and shit, because you can't keep up with them. They're so hard to take care of. They're so expensive to take care of. And one little thing, they go out.
Many of them,
Go ahead.
I said, when you have so many of them like that, it gets very expensive and very difficult to keep up with everything.
I mean, those things are delicate. I mean, they're strong. The Flight 3 that I was on was strong, but I mean, they're still machines. You lose a valve. This shit breaks. This O-ring fails. Somebody does some shit wrong. Somebody's not following procedure. One of the things we talked about last time is, torpedo tubes, right? So if you have a torpedo and you're shooting a wire-guided torpedo and they don't cut the wire and you close the outer door on the wire, you've lost a tube, basically, because now it's going to leak all the time. Shit like that, it could have just been an accident. And, they could have been following procedure and assumed that the wire left and it didn't, and they closed it and it failed. Just shit happens. Like, you have to take care of these things, and that's how we broke them. And that's one of the things people are talking about, is we're going to try to speed up nukes again and make everybody spend a shit ton of money on nukes and kind of break everybody financially that way.
Yeah, just kind of like an arms race like that, and then just destroy everybody's economics.
I mean, it worked on the Soviet Union, but the Soviet Union's not China. China's got a lot more money. They're a lot more stable. They're not as crazy to keep up with us. I think that I just don't think it's going to work, even if that is a thing. You know, it may work against Russia,
Yeah.
but I don't think Russia's stupid enough to do that again. To be honest, they're fucking those smartest fucking people on the planet. A lot of the times, they're fucking not going to do that shit again. So it just seems weird that we're going to try to go that same route. That worked, but man,
Russia can't even afford stuff like that. With Russia's economy, Russia is destroyed in regards to economics and their financial stability. So
yeah, the oil. I think the oil hit them pretty hard.
definitely.
And they're not that big. They seem like a very giant, big country with a lot of money, but they're really financially the size of Texas. They're not that big, and they've always kind of been that. And they have the same amount of submarines and stuff like that. And sure, but yeah, I mean, they're not that big. They just are. They just look very big. You know what I mean?
Yeah, on paper.
And that's enough, right? You don't at this point, especially with Cold Wars just kind of playing out over and over. It seems that's all you gotta do is just look good on paper. Nobody's gonna fuck with you if you could,
Yep.
hurt them
That's
back
all
pretty
you need.
badly. Yeah, definitely. So anyways, yeah, so Open Skies is kind of dead. So we'll talk about it later with Stefan's, but it seems like it's gonna not pan out very well. But anyways, so Memorial Day weekend. So shout out to everybody. I was joking with some people at work. I said, they were like, thank you for your service and all this. I'm like, man, it's Memorial Day. I'm not dead. I'm still alive. You can thank me on Veterans Day. That's when you thank me, right? But anyway, so yeah, shout out to everybody who's served out there. And one of the things that I really try to pride myself on with the subreddit, so the submarine subreddit. I don't know if you guys have checked that out. Make sure you go check it out. It's our submarines. Reddit.com/submarines, I guess. I think it's the link. But I wanted it, when I built it, I wanted it to be international. I didn't want it to be this, just a bunch of guys on American submarines talking shit and it becoming like this bar thing, like you see a lot on Facebook and stuff. I wanted it to be like open to everybody and open to the community and bring in all the countries, because I think American submarines are interesting, but I served on them, so I've kind of got that shit down. Like, I want to see Russian submarines. I want to see Chinese submarines. I want to see, all of them. I think they're great. And so I wanted to make it really international. And so, oh man, I'm kind of like rolling on with that subject, and I forgot where I was going to go with it. But anyways, so you guys now you know. So anyways, Memorial Day, coming up this weekend, one of the things I wanted to talk about was the Thresher. I've gotten more emails this past weekend than I have altogether the entire time I've been doing this, all based on the Thresher. Everybody keeps asking me what is going on with these Thresher documents. Why haven't they been released yet, right? So I want to give you guys a little history of what I'm talking about, and I'll give you the best update I can from the Naval Institute, because like I said, I love those guys. If you haven't checked out all the stuff on the Naval Institute, it is an amazing website. It has so much stuff. I've actually joined up to be a member and everything, so make sure you guys check them out. So I'm going to show you guys some links from there. But essentially what's been going on is a guy named Captain James Bryant, who's a retired Navy captain. He actually served as a captain on a Thresher class submarine. Maybe a few of them, I guess. I can't remember. But he has always had this thought in his head, based on the findings on the Thresher, that there's a little bit more to it. Right? They basically kind of blamed it on a few things, but everybody, including myself, have always believed that the investigation was really weak. It was based on a lot of not necessarily false information, not very good information. Some of it was kind of confusing and weird, and people assumed that stuff was right, and it probably wasn't. There's a lot to it, right? And so he wrote this very awesome summary of how we should declassify the Thresher data, right? the Thresher sank in the 60s, and it's been about 55 years, so they should be releasing this info. And the information wasn't getting released. He had actually put in a FOIA request to get this information released, and they wouldn't let it go. So he sued him. So I actually have the court case right here. So this is the court case between Captain James Bryant and the Navy, basically suing them to release it. Like, there's no reason that they should be holding on to this anymore. It's gone through all of its, it has to wait so many years before you can release it. Here it is. I want these documents. And he even talks about how he's not just some dude who's going to try to, like, shit on the Navy. He's a qualified Navy captain who actually served on it. Like, he was there, man. He did this. Like, he wasn't on the Thresher as far as I know, but he was on that class, right? So he has a lot tied into this. And so he sued him. And the Navy, or the courts, he won. The court said that they need to release this information by May 15th. So come May 15th, this is when I started getting all these emails, because nobody saw the info. I couldn't find it. We had the subreddit. Everybody on the subreddit was looking for it. We were waiting for the Naval Institute, because Naval Institute's probably going to be the first one to release all the documents together. Because they've been working with Captain James for so long, and so they never released anything. Nobody knew what was going on, and so come to find out that instead of releasing them on May 15th, they said that the documents are going to be delayed because of office closures because of the coronavirus. So we got this like really sad excuse for something that is like that. I mean, anybody who's really dealt deep into the Thresher documents, I mean, we all assume that there's more to it. It just doesn't make any sense. There's just not enough there. There's a lot of crap there. So, yeah, definitely, they're not releasing it. Have you ever heard of any types of things like this where the government's gotten out of giving up documents and stuff that they need to? Like, have you ever put any type of FOIA requests in or anything like that?
No, I haven't, but I was just kind of listening to what you were saying. That's crazy timing, if anything, that they were able to use that as an excuse not to release the documents. That's wild.
Yeah, and so, I mean, to the Navy's, to be on the Navy side, they supposedly said that they're going to hire some reservists to come in and kind of help catch up with all this, and the whole FOIA thing is just a freaking disaster at this point. Holy shit, man! I've had a FOIA in for a year and a half now, because I also put in a FOIA request for the Thresher documents at probably about the same time, and then I also put in for the same FOIA request. I also put in for the Scorpion documents to see if there's more there with the sinking of the Scorpion, because it's so mysterious, and so. With them being so similar, I just there's probably a lot more to that one too. I would assume. I don't think it's just a battery that blew up, but that's just my opinion, anyways. But so yeah, I mean it's and I have no idea when I'm going to get those FOIAs in. I have no idea. I'm assuming that when I put them in, I always assumed that it was going to be about 3 years before I saw anything, but I haven't heard shit. I got a letter from the CIA saying that they were working on it, and that's all I got, and that was a year and 2 months ago or something like that. So I really have no idea what's going on with it.
Is that how long the response time is for FOIA?
Yeah, they're
3 years.
Yeah, they are long, and they're just getting longer. Because you got people that'll just. I mean, there's people out there that got like thousands of FOIAs in. They're just trying to write books and trying to make money on it, and it sucks, man. And it's kind of cool the way they've done it now is that if you put in a FOIA request and you actually release the information, they'll give it to you for free. But if you don't release it and you try to use it to commercialize it, basically, then they have to charge you for it, and they charge you. You basically have to pay for the research and the time on these people, and it's supposedly a lot of money. So unless you're going to be making a lot of money on that book, it's not really worth it anymore. So I think that's helped a little bit, and they've also been going after people who have, in their eyes, they're going after like Nuclear Anthro. They're going after Martin because they said that supposedly he's using his information to commercialize it because he's got it on his own server to feed to people. Like you actually have to go to his server, I guess, and get it. And so that's kind of their excuse for it. So they're fighting people on, people who put in a lot of FOIAs. They're trying to shut all that shit down. They want it to be kind of specialized. Like if you have something you're really interested in, we'll let you hear about it, but we don't want people just like gumming the system up to death, because it takes a lot of time for these people to go through this stuff. It takes a shit ton of time for them to go through it. And I mean, they can't just be knocking out 1,000 of them a day. It's just not going to happen. They just don't have the resources for it. So I don't know.
You got to dig back through a lot of documents and a lot of information, and it's a long process, and I can't imagine having to deal with thousands of them. That's crazy. Yeah,
definitely. It's such a wild kind of, I don't want to say it's a shit show, because I know they're doing their best and they're working on, tight resources, and I'm sure the government doesn't really want to release all this shit, because they're just going to get a bunch of crap for all of it, and they're going to have to deal with everything. Because I'm going to tell you what, there's going to be some shit that comes out of these documents. I guarantee it. And they're going to have to deal with it. Now they're going to have to set time aside to go back to something that happened 80 years ago. Or sorry, is it 80? God, it's not. 60 years ago. Jeez, I'm making myself even older. But I don't want to deal with that shit. I got other shit I got to deal with. We got Venezuela. We got all the shit going on. I don't know. I want to deal with this right now. So they're just like, whatever excuse we can, let's just kind of slow it down as much as we can. I can't believe they're not getting defunded, to be honest. If you want my honest opinion, I always figured it was going to be one of those things that was like, let's just slowly get rid of them, or, defund them to death.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really do anything for the United States government. I mean, realistically, it doesn't make it any easier for them. But
it really doesn't.
Anyways, so yeah, I mean, it's a pretty quick week. I knew we weren't going to be on here for like a full 2 hours or anything, because there's been a lot going on, but it's not nothing super crazy. Nobody's been killed or anything like that. We've had some pretty rough newscasts. We actually got defunded, or we got demonetized for one of them, because it was that one where that base guy hit by missiles, where all the guys got real bad brain injuries and stuff, and they were like, no, you can't show missiles hitting. You can show missiles flying, you can show test missiles exploding into stuff, but you can't show actual war video. So we ended up, I don't know, it's not like we make a whole shit ton of money on this anyways, but yeah, we got defunded for that one, so I don't know. But anyways, YouTube's kind of weird. But anything you got going on that you want to talk about real quick? I know you got your awesome Discord server, but anything else you got going on?
Not really. I just launched my website again. I've been moving websites around different hosts, trying to find perfect host for my website. I finally settled with Squarespace, so go ahead and shout that out, IntelDoge.com. Go and check that out. I got some articles on there. I'm gonna get some more on there soon. I got the Discord server, Project Owl, Discord.com. Is it Discord.com? What is the invite link for Discord servers nowadays? It is Discord.gg/Project Owl. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm also on Project Owl too, so if you're on there, you can hang out with us, and we'll talk shit with you every once in a while.
Yeah, it's a cool server. Great people, great information, great source of information. Awesome place.
Yeah, definitely. And what's your website? I'll go ahead and pull it up real quick.
IntelDoge.com. I don't really have a ton of articles on there right now. I'm working on getting some more on there, though.
There you go. So we'll pull it up, and you got some good stuff on there. How to marine traffic, how to web SDR. All right, cool, man. But awesome, man. Well, thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate it. We were going to try to have Aurora Intel on, but I think we just kind of ended early, so I think we're just going to roll with that and make it a quick show for the night. It's Memorial Day weekend. We'll let everybody get back to cooking steaks or whatever they were doing.
Awesome.
But yeah, man, thanks again for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to say before we get off here?
I think that's everything. I think we kind of talked about everything major going on.
Awesome. Well, don't go anywhere. I'll talk to you after the show. Thanks for everybody for being on, everybody for joining us in the chat room. Like I said, another quick one. So thanks for everything. And like I said, I'll put all the links up in the description after the show so you guys can see everything we had pulled up. So thanks again for everything.